Epic, another epic tale of my time in Nashville. I spent a little time down there. One thing led to another. Well, I spent a few years in Nashville, checking out the scene. It was all happening on Lower Broad, I tell you what I mean. With the tourists, the players, the honky-tonk dives, it was just what I was looking for. I found a little spot and I made my stand, I couldn't ask for more. I was working for a singer, a fella named Billy Bird. And Billy was the smoothest country singer I had ever heard. Well, I never made the big time, but I was living the dream. I had a steady gig in Nashville, and that was just fine with me. Well, people always coming up to Billy, and they tell him what he ought to do. They all had good intentions, but they usually didn't have a clue. Well, Billy never got flustered. He knew how this would go. And then he'd say, have you ever thought about getting your own show? I never will forget the words that Billy would say. I remembered how it went right up to this day. And even though we laughed, it was the best advice I'd ever heard. I still remember what Billy said, I remember every word. But after I left Nashville, I played for many years. I never gave in to doubt, I never gave in to fear. I was a sideman, I was a leader. I played in so many bands, I played so many honky-tonks all across this land. Well, I got a little tired and I got a little bored, but I never forgot what I was reaching for. I worked in Arizona, I worked in LA too. I worked in Colorado, I worked in Kalamazoo. And the years turned into decades, and the time just flew on by. And I knew what I was doing, well, and I knew just why. But the words of Billy Bird stuck with me, don't you know? And I always wondered, is it time to get my own show? I never will forget the words that Billy would say. I still remember how it went right up to this day. And even though we laughed, it was the best advice I'd ever heard. I still think about what Billy said, I remember every word. Now one day it finally happened. There's just one thing on my mind. Everything else just fell away, and that was really just fine. I had to write my own story. I had to tell it my own way. There was nothing else to do. There was nothing else to say. No, I couldn't be a sideman. Or I couldn't play in the band. I had time for me to make my stand. Well, I didn't have to think about it, but I didn't have to wonder why. Oh, it just seemed to happen. I really didn't have to try. Well, I still remember Nashville. I still remember those days. Though the memory's just a little bit fuzzy, I can see it through the haze. And I still remember what Billy said so many years ago. I can still hear Billy say, it's time to get your own show. I can still remember what Billy said so many years ago. I can still hear Billy say, it's time to get your own show.